Later, thugs surrounded a small table in the dark. Light illuminated them a bit. An old monster movie played in black and white on a TV nearby as the men played cards. Nearby, a camera watched many women lay on filthy mattresses, handcuffed to bars or tied down, or simply crammed into metal cages. "Shut up back there!" one extra chubby thug yelled at a helplessly sobbing lass at the end of her mental rope. "When can we deliver this bunch? I'm tired of hearing all this crying." "You kidding? This is way less than usual. It's like they've come to expect it or something." "Yeah, man, it's a bit unsettling." "Hey, can we turn it to something else?" "What, you don't like the classics?" "Man, I always hated them. Grandma always made us watch them. Scared me to death when I was a kid. Always had to go to bed in the dark with all her spooky dolls and the closet open and all that dark and spooky shadows and, dude, shut up, man. You're starting to give me the willies. Dang. You know, this place is spookier than usual. Maybe they was onto something when they made these movies back then." "Nah, they're totally lame. But hey. A thug launched out of his chair and pulled his pistol out. "What is it?" "I thought I saw something." "Where?" "Behind those crates." They all stood and moved. Something tinked behind them, and they all spun and drew their various weapons as well. "Okay, I'm starting to get a little freaked out now." "Man, I can't see nothing. Why is it getting so hazy in here? Dust?" A thug scanned past some boxes and the darkness between them, and then darted his eyes back to where they were, to what he thought he just saw. Nothing. Then a cyan glow appeared. "Ah!" he cried out in terror, backing away into the backs of the group, slapping away at them to get their attention. "That's not possible." All their eyes widened with terror as they tried to comprehend their greatest nightmares, and desperately tried to find the emotional fortitude to move their weapons and fire at the thing creeping out of the shadows toward them. One swore, and yanked his weapon up to fire wildly. A tendril launched out of the dark and blasted him with lightning. He cried out in pain and fear. The others backed away, also in fear, wide-eyed, and then looked back at the shadow, but nothing was there. Their friend lay on the ground, unconscious. The only light suddenly went out with a bust and sparks, temporarily blinding them all, making the dark even deeper. "I can't see!" One man squeezed off a shot. Another groaned, and fell because of said bullet. "Stop shooting!" Another man cried out in the dark as he was dragged off to the shadows. The TV they didn't realize was off suddenly flickered back on. They all spun to it, with weapons out. Its light made the dark around them all the worse as their eyes readjusted once more. Another man lit up with electricity as Frankenstein's monster came to life. The remaining men spun and all fired in that direction wildly. But behind them stood the cloaked shadow of disturbance, with its cyan eyes blazing like the blue fires of the hottest hellfire. The TV then went out. They spun to see in the new silence. They heard a creaking. They suddenly saw the cyan eyes blazing at them from the dark, and something obscure their view of them, and smash. A massive wooden crate of drugs shattered upon impact on all of them. The now heavy footsteps marched up. The creature observed with its cyan gaze, then stomped one groaning thug in the face. The TV flickered back on. The darkness's cyan blaze vanished as the cloaked figure moved to the door nearby. It yanked it open, busting locks outright. Inside the room lay nothing. All the girls were gone. Everything was gone, except for one small box in the middle of the room. What? All of the women were missing. The darkness moved forward, and saw a piece of paper near the sound device that simply said, "Gotcha" on it. A new silhouette stood in the doorway behind the darkness. A man, smiling wide, what little light there was glinting off of his teeth, pistol leveled out, mad with fear. He began giggling to himself. The darkness cocked its head just as the trigger squeezed back. Bam! The darkness spun. The man was laying on the floor. His pistol slid forward into the room.
You can come out now, Blue Shadow. I know it's you.
And so he did. Another shadow bled out of the darkness in the doorway. But when he stepped forth, some lights flickered onto his mask. A gas mask specifically integrated into a suit fed him air.
So, you figured it out.
The cyan blaze of its eyes lit up. But without a word, Blue flicked a switch, and the entire room lit up with lights. This time, instead of a dark shadow and tendrils and cyan blaze, there was only a cape, a black suit, a great deal of armor, a hydraulic mechanical exoskeleton to move it, and a lit mask of black. Cyan-colored light shone out of its eye slots.
So, this is what you really look like.
Where are all the women?
Moved.
Is this your doing?
No, but if they're onto you, then this can't be the end of it. That wild-eyed freak can't be their trap. I disabled some C4 near the roof, and in here. You should be more careful next time.
A groan went out behind Blue.
You and me both.
In the shadow's cyan electronic gaze, a bleeding-out thug had woken from his stupor by one last adrenaline surge from the drugs spilled open and his body's last-ditch effort to survive. He pressed down on a handheld detonator. A crate outside suddenly blasted open. Blue's cape incinerated, and he launched forward into the room. He attempted to stand. The darkness lowered its armored hands from the instinctual guard from the explosion. It stepped back, spun, ran, and with electronic strength, kicked the massive back doors open. Flashing lights and sirens filled the air as cop cars, just sliding up, had their occupants leap out of their doors and open fire without warning. This wasn't protocol. The darkness leapt back inside as the bullets hailed on the back entrance wall. The blue shadow was gone. The darkness leapt back into the main area of the warehouse, where the cards were, and heard a crack, then saw Blue pointing a grapple gun. Pow! It impacted the roof, and he suddenly yanked his way up towards the skylight. Fire suddenly filled the corners of the entire warehouse. It wasn't just lit to blow, it was primed to burn. The darkness raised an arm, and fired off 3 cables, and pulled itself up as well. A delayed detonation rocked the structure as another box exploded. Further hidden charges detonated with the heat and the new explosions. Both the darkness and the blue shadow launched upward out of the glass of the skylight and hit the roof painfully, smoking, Blue's outfit further damaged. The darkness now missing a cape. They both groaned and didn't want to move, but the beating of copter blades on the wind and a sudden spotlight woke them from their stupor. Blue grunted as he tried to stand. The darkness grabbed him by the back of the armor and yanked him to the side as bullets blasted the area where they just were. It forced him to run along until they came to the building's edge, and they leapt across as more bullets ricocheted off the ledge.
Why are they shooting at us?
Human trafficking. Dirty cops.
Thoom! The roof and the side room C4 finally detonated. The sheer force of the explosion rocked the police chopper, and its pilot struggled for control. Shots went wild. One bounced off the darkness.
Ugh!
Nightingale, we need extraction!
Nothing.
My comms are jammed!
Suddenly gas exploded all around them.
Not now. My mask is broken.
Blue tried not to breathe.
It's not me.
Tear gas.
Jump!
And the darkness yanked Blue off the ledge, and they fell as more gas and bullets blasted their previous standing spot. The darkness reached its armored arm out and grabbed desperately out at several fire escape rails, ripping many loose trying to break their fall, until they hit the dumpster full of filth. They groped their way out and fell onto the ground.
My bike! It's just in that alley.
Blue coughed and sputtered out. A cop car screeched to a stop at the end of the alley. Light blared in, and men sprinted down it after them. The darkness helped Blue up with electronic strength, and they sprinted around a corner as a shotgun blasted Brick away.
The commissioner's daughter was kidnapped by these thugs. Deadly force is authorized.
They sprinted up to the black bike parked there.
I can barely see. You have to drive us.
The darkness mounted with Blue sliding on behind.
Stop. Click the button on the bottom of the tank. Then you can start it.
The darkness felt a clawed hand around and pressed a small button, and the cycle revved to life, and they blasted off.
They're on the move! Cars and choppers in pursuit!
Legions of vehicles peeled off behind the bike. A small screen flicked on.
You aren't Blue?
Blue's face popped up over the darkness's shoulder.
Nightingale, get us out of here!
Take 2 lefts and a right. It will take you into an alley cars can't fit through.
The darkness peeled them to the left and slid out of that alley into traffic, then blasted towards the oncoming cops on this street as well.
Spec!
The darkness yanked them onto their side, and they slid, trying to slide the bike to a slow, to burn rubber into the small alley. Snap.
My armor's too heavy for the bike.
Bolts, nuts, and screws flew as the bike's back wheels snapped off. Several cops opened fire before their cars even halted. Suddenly, a pshh filled the air. Blue looked up as they finally rolled to a stop.
Nitrous!
The darkness yanked Blue up yet again and into another alley. They sprinted till the end. The entire street filled with blue flame. Then the tank went. Thoom. Cops shielded their faces from the heat and parts. Blue looked down at his hand. Blood. He looked back up and saw that the darkness was far ahead of him.
Wait!
He grunted. But the darkness doesn't. It sprinted right across traffic, leaping over cars, stomping across car roofs and hoods. Some screeched to a halt, some hit others trying to stop in time. Blue yanked his belt off and flicked a switch to open all the gas bomb pockets at once. He slung his belt at the other side of the road. It exploded, and a thick cloud of gas went everywhere. The cop shots from the other alley further up the road where they cut through on foot missed their mark in the smoke. The darkness spun and met Blue's gaze as he held his side and cars screeched to a halt to avoid a pileup. A moment of acknowledgement for the save, but then the darkness stepped back into the smoke and leaped away. Pow! Chow! And Blue ducked behind cars toward the safety of the smoke as well, as the cops started firing into the fire that had closed up the alley behind him. They were firing blind, anything to stop them. Blue came out the other side of the smoke, but the dark figure was gone, and it was starting to rain. Blue ran down the street, aiming for another alleyway to cut into. Finding his way out the back of it, he ran across the road to hide in another alley, and tried to become any less conspicuous. But a car screeched to a halt, nearly hitting him. He slammed his hands on the hood to prevent the fender from hitting his ribs.
Blue, get in!
Night Shadow's voice yelled out. Blue sprinted around the other side, and he leapt into an open door. The car peeled off.